Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of eXhuming the X-Files
A
here on
very
the
special,
Outpost. Here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. My name is Matthew. Joined in very serious conversation here with Jeremy.
a very special journey.
Yeah. And what are we talking about tonight, Jeremy?
Um, we're going to talk about season 5, episode 15, Travelers, on eXhuming the X-Files.
Yes. So hit that like and subscribe. We're here every Friday until the show is over. So yeah, listen to our old episodes, listen to our future episodes. We're coming up to the movie, which I'm actually very excited by. We've only got four or five more episodes left in the season, and then we get to the movie. I'm curious to see if the movie holds up. When was the last time you watched the X-Files movie? Do you remember?
Oh, geez. I don't know that I've seen it beyond the original time that I watched it.
Really? Back in the 90s?
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
like
okay.
why would I watch it again if I wasn't going through the X-Files again?
Are you going to watch it in 1080?
Man, why would I do that? Like,
Well, I mean, you went to see it in the theater. It was on a big screen. It wasn't. It wasn't in.
so that would have been what, 720 back then? Because they
Oh,
didn't have digital. They didn't have digital projectors back then.
oh my God. Let's go. Let's get into it, folks. We're talking travelers. We're talking travelers. Directed by William A. Graham, written by John Chabon and Frank Spotnitz. Thank goodness Chris Carter has dropped his pen. He's not involved in this one, but we shall see what our thoughts are on this. So, did you have any recollections of Travelers from when you were a wee lad?
No,
Neither did
no.
I. Neither did I. So I was actually very excited. I think maybe as a kid, maybe I was burned by those last two episodes, and I just was like, you know what, X Files, I'm not going to give you a viewership watch on the following Friday. Maybe I just missed this one entirely, but we'll see.
You
No,
hear that, Chris Carter? You hurt that little boy.
yeah, fuck you, Chris Carter.
Man, I hope we never have to answer for ever saying
When I have him on the show, Jeremy, I'll say it to his face.
that. Oh, yeah. I'll be sitting there eating popcorn, just shutting up. All right, so Travelers begins. It is 1990. There's an
I am 9 years old.
there's an eviction notice being served from a landlord. He's got a sheriff with him. They're at some scummy boarded up house, and the sheriff's like, I don't really like evicting old folk, but he's like, it's not like that. And then they find out that it's like, Mr. Skur, come on out, Mr. Skur, Skur, skirt, and
Skrr.
he won't open the door. So the sheriff draws his weapon. There's no threat. He just knock, knock, knock. Come on out of there. And then he pulls his piece out. They open the door immediately, like, oh, fucking stinks in there. And then the sheriff has this little one-liner. It's like, a whole lot of something went bad. Don't know why that stuck out to me, but it did. The landlord, or they go upstairs. They're going through the house. They go upstairs. The landlord ends up seeing something off screen, runs puking down the stairs. The cop or the sheriff looks around the corner and he's like, it's just a glove. It's on the edge of a tub. It's a little hand on the edge of the tub. It's like, it's just a leather glove. But as he rounds the corner, it's a whole ass beef jerky corpse.
He actually like gets down on his knees, gets real close to it too. Like he drops down and is like gets his head like right over that bathtub, is really giving it the eye.
I mean, maybe if Skur hadn't touched him, he might have pulled a Krychek, kissed it on the cheek. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he
You know
gets
what I
touched.
thought when I saw that, Jeremy? I was like, we're going to get another episode of fat sucking.
Yeah,
That's what I
I
thought.
wrote fat sucking. So the cop gets touched gently on the back. Like, he doesn't get shoved. He doesn't get jumped. It could have been the landlord. but it scares him so bad he rolls over on the back and executes whoever or shoots him twice. Like,
Scared.
yeah, he was
Scared.
just scared. And so whoever it was fell down the staircase. The cop walks up to him as this old ass guy. He has what appears to be semen in 480p dripping out of his mouth. And he says it in his old man voice, older. And then we get the title screen.
All right, what'd you think of this?
I mean, you know, it's not the overarching what is it? Narrative anymore. It's going to be like a monster of the week sort of thing or something like that. Just one of these one-offs. So I'm like, oh, I'm okay with it.
Would you prefer X Files if you had to only choose? It be all Mytharc alien stuff, or just Monster of the Week random Mulder and Scully going on rando adventures?
I mean, geez, I don't think. See, Supernatural ultimately fell apart
Yeah.
because the thread of the great evil that they were dealing with finally got dealt with, as we were talking about in the last episode, I believe, maybe the episode before, who knows. Once that kind of once they didn't do that anymore, or they didn't have that centralized theme to kind of deal with, and it just became whatever, I would imagine that X Files would suffer from that really, really quickly, unless every episode was as good as was it the freak that was tenting people's houses and then raping them to share.
Oh my god. The Great Mutado. um, I'm actually kind of. We haven't really talked about this on the show yet, but Ryan Coogler is doing an X Files show. He's filming a pilot. He cast, his two new special agents and whatnot. And from what has been reported, it's going to be kind of like a direct sequel to all of this stuff. Like, it's still going to involve alien conspiracies and stuff. He's going to like kind of build off of what Chris Carter built. So it's not like it's a whole brand new thing. I think Mulder and Scully are still quote unquote canon to what Ryan Coogler's creating. And I'm going to be curious to see how far he delves into. If we're going to do the alien conspiracy stuff, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, um, I would think that today the X Files, if you could make a really good X Files show today, I think people would really want to watch it, because we have seen everybody is lying to us. Everybody in position of power is lying to the people. They're hiding things. People are very into the conspiracy stuff now. Even the alien stuff, UFOs or UAPs, whatever they're calling them now, is really big in the culture again. I think it could work based on what I just, I guess, over just doing the quick aside. What are your thoughts on the Ryan Coogler's new X Files show? From what you've heard, are you excited for that or not?
Not really. I mean, I I'd seen what I needed to see by or before the T1000 kind of took over,
Yeah.
and I be honest with you, the new stuff that had come out a few years back that actually featured Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, I heard those were great. I haven't seen them,
Really?
and I don't. I guess that just makes me a bad X Files fan. But I remember I don't know that I've seen the second movie. Fight the
Really?
I might not have.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Interesting. Yeah.
it was just because at the very tail end, I'm not saying that what was it Patrick, who's the T1000,
Oh, Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. I don't think he did a bad job, but losing Mulder, that was kind of a big blow to me
Yeah.
as far as fandom goes. And I remember that was when I first barely started paying attention to the tabloids, and I remember there being drama about that that just kind of turned me off to the entire thing. And it was like it wasn't quite, Game of Thrones season 8 for me, but it was enough to be like, all right, I could put this down and never ever pick it back up again. And then you also kind of couple that with everything that we've seen since movies just stopped doing original scripts and just became either a reboot or a sequel or extended universe, just garbage that we've been seeing for like 20 years now.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking over all of my the pop culture of my childhood being force fucked to share for money, and that I just don't do it anymore. So
Yeah.
this new thing that's coming out, sure, have fun with it. I'm sure it's gonna be ass.
Well, the thing that I will say is Ryan Coogler is a super talented creator. Did you watch Sinners?
I've not yet. It
Okay,
is on the list.
like Ryan Coogler is a super incredible filmmaker and director. He it's not like they're just picking up, clearance rack Chris Carter and throwing him on the X Files. So the fact that he's doing it makes me inherently interested, and I feel like Ryan Coogler has never made something that has not been quality, of some sort. So I'm kind of like tentatively looking forward to that, but we shall see. Leave a comment down below, folks. What do you? Are you guys excited or not for Ryan Coogler's X Files reboot that's coming out? But anyway, back to Skur.
So Mulder is knocking on a door of some old retired agent who oddly enough looks very, very much like Deep Throat to me.
Yeah, I
He
thought
like
that
he opened the
too.
door, it's like, is that fucking Deep Throat? So I had to look it up. No, it's just some guy that looks kind of like him.
I always think it's funny whenever they do these like flashbacks to the past. David Duchovny, they just have him have bangs. Like they just put his hair like as bangs in front of on in front of his forehead, and that's his youthful look.
Oh yeah, this was in 1990. So this wasn't
Yeah.
okay. So he asks him about a case file on Skur, and I wrote, "Why does this guy look like a chubbier Deep Throat?" Apparently, he was an agent back in the day who had. I was under the impression he was the old like X Files guy, but no, he was just a guy that happened to know about the X Files and was responsible for a single X file. But he basically tells Mulder, like, you weren't these people that were involved with this shit, you weren't ever meant to find anything out. You're still not going to find anything, and shuts the door in his face. So Mulder ends up going on to watch old tapes of the communist witch hunts from way back in the day,
Yeah.
and sees that his dad was in one of them. And
Dad?
daddy? So he goes back, convinces the old agent that, you know, um he turned this guy into jerky. He used to work with my dad. Tell me where the connection is, please. And apparently the agent has nothing better to do with his time, but does a fan fucking tastic job of narrating the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
Um, there was a heavy. They start trying to figure out what is communism having to do with man jerky and fat sucking. Um, and it cuts to we're back in the past. Like, was it back in the 50s,
Yeah.
55 or something like that?
This episode is a flashback within a flashback.
And this agent, this old guy that Mulder is talking to, knocks on Skur's door and arrests him in front of his wife and his kids for being a communist. I think.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like he's setting him up though, because the agent, Chubby Deep Throat, he's not cool with what's going on. He knows that Skur is being set up, and they bust him, and then Skur hangs himself in his jail cell. So uh, Chubby Deep Throat goes into the bar and gets super wasted. sits outside of her or his Skur's wife's house in the dark, continuing to drink because he's trying to work up the courage to go tell Skur's wife that he offed himself.
Yeah.
But before he could go inside to tell his wife, Skur actually shows up alive and walking around outside with no hat on. I noticed that. Back then, all those dudes that had suits on was wearing hats. Why didn't Skur have
Hmm.
a hat on? Okay.
That's a
They end up
good point.
they end up having a foot chase through the backyard. Then he loses him for a minute, gets flying tackled into some trash cans, and then this is the part where I wrote, or the guy gets on top of him, or Skur gets on top of him, and he opens his mouth, and it's the scene from Men in Black where the
Yeah.
dude wearing the Edgar suit starts crawling out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I had to look it up to see which one was first. This episode came out or was filmed in '98. Men in Black was out in '97. So I'm sure that was an homage or
Yeah,
a
I
little
think so.
nod to it. But I was like, oh my God, it's another fat sucker. But a neighbor opens his door or window and, like, hey, what are you doing down there? And that's enough to chase Skur off.
Yeah. No one can watch the fat sucking. It's got to be a private thing.
Yeah, don't look. Ew. So the agent ends up filing a report saying, Skur's not dead. I was at his house. That's not how it went down, and he is in trouble. The
Yeah.
Department of Justice, the DOJ, wants to interview him about what had happened, and he goes into their office. He goes into an inner office. He sits down in front of the desk, and the creepo Department of Justice guy gets up and then sits down next to him. That's how serious things are.
You know,
And he gives him
going
this
cone.
whole he gives him this whole greater good speech about we got to bust these commies, and you know I, it was a speech kind of skirting on what they were doing. Like, you just have to let this go, that this sucking fat stuff is just part of communism, or stopping communism in the United States. And
Yeah.
I wrote a sign that's like, God, I got $1 that says that this particular angle is never explained. Thank you, Chris Carter, is what I wrote. But I don't. You said he didn't write this episode.
No, he did not.
That felt like a Chris Carter moment. But anyway, they investigate some other dude. They keep using the word Kraut, some German guy, and he is Kraut jerky. They go and meet, and they're trying to figure out, who killed this guy, and the entire situation is interrupted by. No, that was later. That was a different set of notes. But anyway, Chubby Deep Throat ends up meeting an informant immediately after the scene, who warns about Skur, and warns him that while his partner is about to get murdered by Skur, and we find out that this young informant guy is Fox's dad. He calls
Yeah.
himself Mulder.
An agent from the State Department. A lot of agencies in this episode.
They go on to kind of talk about the reasoning behind what's going on, that Skur wants some sort of vague revenge on men in the government, quote unquote, that did this to him, is how they address it. And he thinks that the Chubby Deep Throat and his partner are also a part of it, because they showed up to investigate a beef jerky body. The partner ends up dying. While he's trying to not like clean up the scene and do investigation, like, the communist hunter shows up and takes the body away, and they what is it they he goes he ends up like override, or Chubby Deep Throat ends up like going to where the body is being stored at and says, "You need to cut this guy open right now." And they find this spider inside of it.
Yeah,
But the
it looked
spider,
cool.
it was okay in
I liked
480p. It didn't really articulate a lot, which means that it looked like it was just one solid piece that they just kind of rocked back and forth inside of the body cavity. You don't
I
agree?
liked it.
It's yeah, and Matt likes the goo.
I do. I do.
So he goes to tell Skur's wife that your husband um has a spider in him, and he immediately gets picked up by the communist hunter as soon as he warns her. Afterwards, the wife walks out in the backyard, goes down in their bomb shelter they have buried in their backyard, and he eats his wife.
Yeah.
Um, Chubby Deep Throat ends up meeting somebody called the director, and he gives him another communist threat for greater good speech that basically says that we need to become like monstrously mega evil in order to stop communism from spreading in
Yeah.
the country.
That's
Like
J.
there's
Edgar Hoover, by the way.
oh, that was
That's the FBI director there. Yes, that's
okay. They just called him the director, but in 480p, I couldn't tell it was J. Edgar Hoover. Probably written on a name placard somewhere. I just missed it. But the government wants Skur alive. Um, he's kind of upset that he had to kill his wife. But they send him in anyway to meet him at a bar, and then Skur straight up tells Chubby Deep Throat is like they wouldn't have sent you in here if they didn't intend me to kill you and eat all your delicious fats. They're not here to back him up.
yeah.
And so he does. Well, at least he attempts to. But while he's waiting for uh to peel the Edgar suit away, Chubby Deep Throat handcuffs him to the bar, and then they have to arrest him at that point.
Yeah,
We
we never
find
really see that fight play out. We kind of hear the fight when they're kind of listening from the car or whatever. Um, but I was just kind of like, well, how did he overcome that dude? I wish I wanted to see it, and they didn't really show it to us. We just kind of heard a scuffling, and then suddenly he's handcuffed.
yep. And then they arrest him, and Mulder's dad ends up letting Skur go in the middle of the country, and they posit why. Like, well, maybe he wanted, or whoever let him go wanted the truth to be released. Like, how many guys did he kill in the last 38 years to
A
save
lot,
that spider inside of him?
yeah.
And then,
And Mulder,
that was it.
yeah, and Mulder, when it cuts back to this dude finishing the story, Mulder's pretty kind of upset that his dad would let these people basically, co-opt his morals to do all of this stuff. And that's kind of when the dude is like, well, I heard stories, and then we see that Mulder's dad was actually like a good guy, quote unquote, by letting this horrible killer with a weird spider creature killing people go with that. But all right, your thoughts on Travelers?
Um, Not a whole lot to say about it. I enjoyed it. It there was nothing bad about it, but I definitely didn't remember this episode from my childhood. Particularly one that would have involved Mulder's dad way back in the day. You would think at least that angle would stick out, but it really didn't. So
Yeah,
it was watchable.
yeah. No Scully in this episode. We should point out. Scully nowhere to be seen. Uh, this one I just felt was kind of boring. Like I don't think it was like a horrible episode or anything like that, but I just kind of felt like there was a point in the middle of this episode where I start, how like you're watching something and you start to feel yourself kind of drifting off towards sleep, but then you jerk yourself kind of awake, like, oh, okay, but you're
Oh
not
yeah, I
quite
jerk myself awake all the time.
yeah. But you're not quite sure. You're not quite sure. Like, did I prevent myself from falling asleep, or did I fall asleep for an unknown period of time there, and I woke myself up later? I had that feeling as I was watching this episode. There was a point in the middle where I was like, did I did I fall asleep during like 10, 15 minutes of this movie and wake up, or have I seen everything there is to see? And there's just not a whole lot to see in this episode. It's
There
just kind
really
of like
isn't. The notes
it's
were very short.
yeah, and I do like the dude, like the scene when the spider thing is kind of coming out of his face. I thought that looked kind of cool, but kind of felt like a filler episode to me. Like there wasn't anything really memorable about this one. So yeah, that's not a whole lot to say about this one, but I do have some fun facts here from Wikipedia. The episode was inspired by the story of Howard Dimsdale, a screenwriter who had been negatively affected by the Hollywood blacklist in the 1950s. Dimsdale wrote several movies under the pseudonym Arthur Dales, a name which eventually made its way into this episode. For many years, Dimsdale was an instructor at the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, where he taught executive producer Frank Spotnitz and co producer John Chabon. While developing this episode, the two decided to combine many of Dimsdale's stories of paranoia, treachery, and double dealing with the idea that the witch hunt was actually a smokescreen to conceal something else. The writers soon realized that by setting the episode in the past, they would also be able to trace the roots of both Fox Mulder and the X Files. Scully did not appear in this episode as Gillian Anderson was busy filming final parts of Fight the Future. Noted actor Darren McGavin appears as Arthur Dales. He was requested for the part especially by Chris Carter. Casting director Rick Milliken noted McGavin was Chris's inspiration for writing the series. He always had Darren in mind to use somewhere, and that was really his doing. He said, I want Darren McGavin for this, and he happened to be available, and we got him. Because the show's fifth season was filmed under a number of financial and time restraints, production for Travelers was somewhat rushed. Costume designer Jenny Gillette was forced to frantically rent or create the vintage clothing featured in the episode. And art director Gary Allen did extensive research to make J. Edgar Hoover's office look realistic. Allen also constructed the bomb shelter because his father was a contractor who had actually built several. Special effects supervisor Toby Landala created the alien spider as well as a special facial appliance for Garrett Dillahunt. The final film was slightly bleached in post-production to give it a vintage appearance. The production staff was pleased with the final product, noting it does justice to both the painful controversies of the 50s and the X-Files as a contemporary TV series. The episode contains several in-jokes. The song playing in the German doctor's house is the popular song Lily Marlene, of which a new recording was made specifically for this episode. The record sleeve attributes the track to Paula Rabwini, a reference to one of the series' producers, and Agent Hayes Michelle was named after the fiancee of series creator Chris Carter's executive assistant. And lastly, in several shots, Mulder wears a wedding band. This was David Duchovny's idea. He explained, quote, that was just me, fooling around. I had recently gotten married and I wanted to wear it, unquote. While series creator Chris Carter felt that Duchovny's action created a continuity problem, Duchovny reassured Carter by pointing out that there were not very many episodes, if any, that had been planned to take place 7 years prior to the events in the episode. The inclusion of the detail caused an internet frenzy, and the minor detail was never resolved on screen. So, there you go, folks. Quick, painless, short episode of Exhuming the X-Files this week. Not a whole lot on Travelers. Not bad. Not memorable. It's just there. And so, hit that like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What are we doing next week, Jeremy? Next Friday?
I believe we're going to be exhuming the X-Files.
True. We'll see you next Friday, everybody.